answer questions y'all have for him. Everyone should have recording access. And just a reminder, raise your hand if you have questions for Coach Snow. With that said, let's go to Vincent Richardson to start us off.
Hey, Coach. Just wondering that Matt Rule's mentioned several times that you've had to be quite sort of flexible this year in terms of what you've looked to do just due to injuries and also kind of having quite a somewhat incomplete roster in terms of the long-term vision. As you go into this offseason, how much do you have to have kind of a clear plan of where you want to go as a defense in order to kind of evaluate players and just to start building something with a clearer vision in mind rather than having to be quite so flexible?
Well, I think, the first thing you do is evaluate the system that you're running and over, the offenses that we see and what we need to do a little bit better job with and schematically. And so you go through that first. And then the rest of it is based on what players we end up with, right? And, this league is through free agency and the draft. And so what you need to do after you look at your package is then find out who you have and then put them in situations that they can win within your package. So that's what we'll try to do this offseason.
Let's go to Sheena Quick, followed by Darren Gant.
Hey, Coach. My question for you, in the first meeting with the Saints, they did not punt. You guys are a little shorthanded. I know Rasul Douglas was out for that game. In what area, if you have to pinpoint what area that the defense has improved the most since that first meeting, what would it be?
Well, one of the big reasons they didn't punt is that they were 12 of 14 on third down. So we got them in third down. We didn't win third down. So that'll be a key in this football game. And we didn't give up a lot of big plays, and that's why we didn't give up a lot of points, but we just couldn't get off the field on third down. So that's got to be a priority for this week. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've got to come to grips with. But, every game that you play has a different personality and character to it. So, and you think you know how the game's going to go, but you've got to be ready to adapt and do those type of things. And, with their head coach, he calls the plays. He's really good at what he does. So, we'll have to be good at what we do and win third down.
Phil, on the spectrum from rookies walking in the door, never met you, don't know your scheme, to a mature kind of almost finished product on a defense, where are those guys right now, the defense as a whole?
Well, the young guys, the first year in the league is tough, especially certain positions. Like Troy Pride playing corner in the National Football League. Corners is really hard to play as a rookie. So each guy has a different learning curve, but, I think we're going to be much further along when these guys come in the spring, and hopefully we have, OTAs and do all that stuff, but they'll be so much further along. I'm really looking forward to that time and how we can develop them from then.
Are there particular guys who may be farther along than you would have anticipated the end of December?
No, we had some high draft picks, and I think they've matured just fine. They've got some more growing room, which they know that, and we'll handle that in the off season and through camp. And but I think the progress of most of the players have been real good, the young ones.
Let's go to David Newton for the next question, followed by Mike Solarte.
Hey, Phil, early Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
Wanted to ask, when you talk about your scheme and what you did this year, how much is it different what you ended up doing from what you intended to do going into the season before KK was lost and other things like that? And in an ideal world, what would you like it to be going forward?
Well, I thought we would be able to play a little bit more four-man rush stuff, but, losing KK and injuries up front. So we've had to run a variety of different packages. Now, some of them have turned out, where we may continue to run. We like what they've done for us. So, we've had to experiment with a lot of different things this year because of, injuries and other issues. So I think it's been good. It's been a learning curve for all of us. So we'll just go forward from here.
And you mentioned Luke. Was not having a guy of his caliber, side-to-side type outside line or middle linebacker, maybe the thing that hurt you the most?
Well, I mean, it's hard to replace a guy like Luke. I mean, you're talking about a Pro Bowl player and one of the best at his position. So, yeah, I mean, we'd have loved to have him, but we didn't.
Hey, Phil, Mike Solarte, Spectrum News 1, following David's Happy New Year, wishing you one.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara last week is the stuff of nightmare fuel for defensive coordinators. Anything different from what they did last week than what they've been doing all season? Did it just kind of work better last week? And how do you prevent him from running wild in the last game? Well,
the last game they got the run game going, and Sean just kept calling his number. It was really impressive to watch. He's really he does a lot of things for him. You've got to defend him on every down. I'm sure based on how the game is going, he'll have a variety of different things that he can do. You just hope that they're not, we don't allow him to run the football like that. If New Orleans can run the football like that, you're not going to stop them. So, hopefully that doesn't happen in this football game, but it'll be a tough contest. They're good up front and he's really a good runner.
Kind of following up on that, was there something that they had done differently in last week, or just everything they did just kind of clicked and worked?
Yeah, it just kind of clicked and worked. And these tailbacks get hot, and the offensive line, when they know this guy will find every crease that they give him, they block a little harder. So, the running game was going and it kept going.
Let's go to Joe Person, followed by Josh Klein.
Phil, I think you guys have 10 of your 11 starters under contract for next year, the one exception being Rasul. Wonder what you feel he brought to your defense, and do you view him as a priority?
Well, Rasul, he's played in some big games and played in the league. And, he's got a maturity to him. He understands the game. He's a pro. So, I've enjoyed being around him this offseason. I don't get into who's going to be here and who isn't. There's a lot of things that go into that that I have no part of, to be quite honest. So, but I've really enjoyed Rasul this year.
Hey, Coach, you've talked a lot over the course of the season and preseason, I think, in terms of player growth and player development. And I'm wondering how important, with, just like Joe said, with 10 of 11 starters coming back under contract for next year and maybe a little bit more of an off season, how important it'll be to be able to bring those guys even further along rather than having to focus on installing a scheme.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many other things too, other than just football that they've had to adjust to. It's how we do things, the process here. It's our strength staff. It's our nutrition staff. It's just everybody. And so they're going to be much further along this spring. That when they walk in the building, they know what to expect in every area of the building. So that comfort in being around us and knowing us. These guys will really grow in the next year.
Let's go to Jonathan Alexander, followed by Elena Getzenberg.
Hey, Phil, Happy New Year.
Yep, same to you.
Thank you. Last week when we were asking about Jeremy Chen, you said that I guess it was possible that he could have a different role next year. You all would have to evaluate. I guess, what are the different possibilities of different type of roles that you all could look at?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Jeremy that we have to decide is, we started him in the front seven, and then we have packages where he plays in the back row in the secondary. Well, with his body structure and his longevity and that, is that the best thing for him? Should he be a secondary guy that we use down in the box when we need to? So that's what we have to evaluate and look at this offseason. And, a lot of that will have to do with who ends up on our team too. But, I think for Jeremy, probably the best thing would be is to start him back and move him up. But, we'll see. He has something to say with that. Coach Rule does, and all of us. So we'll see how that progresses in the next 6 months.
Ideally, would you like to see him continue to play multiple positions, or would you ideally like to see him play just one position and be great at that one position?
No, Jeremy and Brian Burns gives us flexibilities to play a lot of different packages with the same people on the field. And that creates a lot of offensive problems, blocking scheme problems. They don't know what coverage we're going to be in. So, I would like to continue to do that with those two. It adds so much to what we can do based on down and distance.
Hey, Phil. I was curious, one of the things that Matt has talked about too is how well you guys have been able to adapt, during games or to, make adjustments. And one of the guys that's moved around a lot this year is FA, kind of played more inside and outside. I was curious how you thought maybe since you first saw him, how he's developed and what kind of role you could see him having in the future.
Yeah, FA has a body that can play inside and outside. Now, when I say inside, it's primarily in passing downs. He can go over a guard and rush. So, probably his future size-wise is at end, but also being able to help us in passing situations inside. So, again, the versatility of when guys can do different things, it really adds a lot to what you can and you can do.
Would you have been able to anticipate him playing inside, when the season started?
Yeah, I did. I thought he could rush over the guards. He's a big man. He's 6'4", 275, and he has, he's not really big enough to play every down inside, but can rush inside. So, yeah, I thought he could end up doing that for us.
Let's go back to Vincent Richardson.
Hey, Phil, just you mentioned sort of missing KK and sort of that sort of limiting what you can do in terms of 4-man rushes and stuff, and also about, you have to be flexible around what you end up after the offseason. But is there a point where you go like, okay, we want to rush with 4 more, therefore, we have to get more of an interior pass rush? Is that something you go out and look at, or is it just you take the best players, and if you have an interior pass rusher, you rush 4, and if you don't, then you work around it?
Yeah, exactly what you said at the end. But, if you look at all the great defenses, they're able to rush 4 and cover with 7. So at some point, we have to get to that level that we can put 4 pass rushers on the field and they can't block them, and we can really cover with 7. So, that's the ultimate goal. Now, you do a lot of stuff around that, but that's the ultimate goal.
All right, guys, looks like that's going to do it. Coach Snow, thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.